In this video, I'm going to tell you why I switched out the Hipshot Trem for the Wilkinson Trem on my new Kiesel Aries neck through. Hey guys, I'm Dr. Mcfarland and welcome back to the channel. Here recently I have acquired a Aries neck through model from Kiesel. I ordered it around February or March of this year and then recently got it here in June. So I've only had it a few weeks and I love the guitar so far. The fit and finish is great. The feel of the neck and the body is just super smooth. But the one thing I was not very excited about was the Hipshot Trem. Now, I never had a guitar that had a Hipshot Trem on it. I do have a Chapman guitar with a Hipshot bridge, but nothing with the tremolo on it. So when I received the guitar, this is the tremolo right here. And it's a very sturdy piece of metal, and everything looks fine about it. But something about the arm, you can pull the arm literally straight out. And you can tighten a little hex screw in there, if you can see that very well. You can tighten it right there and keep the arm in, but the arm kept coming loose and it just didn't feel solid under the hands. Even though the actual piece itself is very solid, looks great, not a lot of issues I can really say about it other than I just didn't like the way it felt. So, I do have plenty of Reverend guitars that you've seen here on the channel. And for example, so this is the Reverend Air Sonic. It has a nice big body, but you can see that it has the Wilkinson Trem right there. And this is just what I'm used to. I love the feel of this Trem arm and just everything about it is just so smooth and feels great. So the Kiesel Trem that you can see right here that I've switched this out to, it's a very similar design to the Hipshot, to where you actually have 2 points that connect to these little bolt areas here on the body. You got one right there and one right there. So you got 2 points there that it kind of hinges on, and there's the fulcrum point, so it just has a nice pullback, and you can bend it down, and it always returns to 0. So I really didn't have a problem with the Hipshot not staying in tune. That was actually pretty good. But it's just the overall feel of the arm and the extra play and movement that the Hipshot arm had while I'm moving it back and forth. I just did not like that sound. So what I've done is I essentially took the springs off the back. Actually, first I took the strings off. Then I took the springs off the back and just took the whole piece right out of the guitar. Because without the springs in there and the strings, the unit itself just kind of falls out. There's nothing really to hold it in, since there's only 2 points that are keeping the whole piece nice and tight up against that area there. So it was very easy to switch out the Wilkinson Trem with the Hipshot, and I just borrowed the Wilkinson from another Reverend guitar I currently am not using. I'm kind of switching out some parts and fixing up some stuff on it, so I figured this was a good opportunity to steal this Wilkinson off of the Reverend and put it on the Kiesel just to try out and make sure that everything was going to fit. And then once I put the other guitar back together, I can always order either another silver one just like this, or I can put a black one on here to match the aesthetic of the black knobs and the lock and tuners on the back and all that stuff. So let me play for you a little bit here. And I did take a little Allen key and I made some adjustments to the arm, because what's cool about the Wilkinson arm is that it actually has a screw thread on the bottom, so you can actually wind it around and get the proper height that you want. So I can loosen this up a little bit more, and I can actually make the arm higher or lower depending on how I want to play. All right, so here's I'm playing with the arm, And I really wish you were here to experience this. This is still roughly the same action as I had before, maybe just a little bit higher. But I can either choose to lower these two threads or just lower the saddles themselves. Haven't decided on that, but for now it actually feels pretty good action-wise. So one thing I was noticing on the Hipshot was this arm actually has a little bit of play in that slot. You can kind of hear it wiggling back and forth, and I did not like that. And the whole thing just kind of felt loose to me, and it wasn't very accurate of a trim system. So when I use this, I can go down as far as I need to, and I can also pull it up until it hits the body here, and I still got a pretty wide range I can pull back. So that was about a whole step interval, and I still didn't even hit the body yet. So that kind of tells me that I don't have to do any extra routing, because they did route this cavity out specifically for the Hipshot trim system. But even with this little piece sticking up, that's not hindering the movement down or up. So I'm pretty happy about that. And that's really about it. So I can do all kinds of stuff. Up a half step. And you can hear that even with all that bending, it still stays perfectly in tune, just like a great Wilkinson Trem always does and always has for all my other Reverend guitars. So if you want to change up your Kiesel and switch it over to a Wilkinson Trem, you may want to check with the guys at Kiesel first. But as far as the Aries model goes, this actually works really, really well. And Kiesel, if you're listening, you might want to consider adding the Wilkinson Trem option to your website and the builder. And so that way we can get the Wilkinson Trems instead of the Hipshots. And maybe it's a money thing. Maybe you have a deal with Hipshot where you get it for cheap. But last thing I will say, this is kind of crummy, but you can see that these screws right here, these are just your run-of-the-mill wood screws you can get from Home Depot or anything like that. They are not the nice, silver metal screws that you would usually see on a nice high-end guitar. So, I'm not really happy about that. I mean, I can't really do anything about it. So, everything else looks fine. The cavity is all well cut out. Very smooth, no weird edges or anything. It's all very clean. But yeah, wood screws from Home Depot or Lowe's. I mean, maybe they're just trying to save money. Maybe they ran out of their other screws that day and just decided to stick these in here. I don't know. But I would think if I was paying, over $2,000 for a custom guitar, that you wouldn't just stick some wood screws in there. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. But that's it for this video. So thanks guys for watching. Let me know your Kiesel experience down below in the comments. Mine has been pretty great so far. I just really prefer the Wilkinson Trem over the Hipshot Trem over here. So subscribe down below, click the bell, and I'll see you in the next video. Keep rocking.